Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Thank you very much for the time and thank you for you all have been watch these videos. Okay. I would like to explain about the material is instructional media for effective teaching and learning of English in Kenya. Instructional media for effective teaching and learning of English in Kenya. Introduction. English language is one of the two official languages in Kenya. English language is used in all forms of all official communication, records and transaction. It is the medium of instruction in institution of learning that is in school, college, and university KIA 2002. All subjects except Kiswahili are taught by use of English language. The teaching and learning of English language, however, as noted by students' performance in school, has been characterized by low grades at school level and in national examination. Reasonable practical involvement of learners in their lessons by their teacher through the use of IM, specifically in English language lessons should be provided to aid in internalizing of concept through IA develop given speaking, listening, reading and studying skills and form right attitudes to English language subject thereby boosting its performance in school. Students require concrete experience to retain more knowledge and skills, hence learn more effectively. When IM is incorporated in lessons, it aids students in effective learners by easily acquiring, retaining, and applying what they are taught by the teacher. Lack of IM for teaching English language during a lesson or its inadequate provision poses a great learning challenge to the learner. Thus, availability and effective use of these resources for teaching and learning English language means pairing the resources with an instructional approach that is different from the traditional one where more information is needed on the nature and extent of teachers' experience in use of these technologies. Rosen and Well, 1999. The third section addresses the use if I am in teaching and learning, and finally part 4 is the conclusion. Literature review. 1. Definition and classification of instructional media. The term media, defined as the plural of medium, is the way of communicating information or ideas. Media can therefore be used by teachers to communicate instructional information or ideas to students in the most effective way for enhanced learning. Media also refers to any kind of format used to convey information. The format can be visual or auditory and channel of conveying sensory message to the recipient who is the learner, and this makes learning more concrete in the skills or concept the learners acquire from what they perceive visually and hear, making their learning real and not just abstract. Instructional media therefore refer to the kind of media used in teaching to aid in learners' easier understanding according to the set objective. Media may imply a complex integration of people, machines, idea, procedure, and management. They have variously been called audiovisual aids, tools for instruction, teaching aids, or instructional technology. Media are carriers of information between the source and receiver, and when the message is intended to change behavior, they are considered as instructional media. Kinyanjui 1997. I am compass all the material and physical means an instructor might use to implement instruction and facilitate student achievement instructional objective. This may include traditional materials such as chalkboard, handouts, charts, slides, overhead, relay, and videotape or film, as well never material and methods such as computer, DVDs, CD-ROMs, and the internet and interactive video conferencing, the 2001. However, if these media are not put in use, teaching may not have and change effect on the learning of students. The next is the role of media in changing teaching and learning. Technologies have advanced over the years, and so have teaching methods. From the one-to-one oral teaching style of the early agrarian age in the pre-writing and pre-printing cultures to the apprenticeship system and one-to-many lectures of the pre-industrial age that heralded the writing and print cultures teaching way predominantly oral. The development of printing, however, set the stage for a literally based mode of teaching which emphasizes on the preservation of knowledge and promoting abstract and analytical thought. Communication between the teacher and the learner is improved by learners' motivation when IM are used in class. Motivation, which in this case is the degree of desire to learn new things, to put in more time knowledge from his or her experience, depends largely on what teachers do to arouse and maintain interest in the student. Ayod and Patel, 1987. Learners learn better when they are motivated. Kupfercher states that the choice of teaching material should correspond to the motivation of the students. Motivation in a learning environment in terms of the teacher, self-presentation and use of teaching aids go a long way in enabling learners learning effectively. Teachers should be innovative enough and ready to venture out to experiment so as to improve teaching. Visual methods in teaching and learning create longer-lasting learning by seeing justifies the need for use of IM teaching and learning for effective instruction. Criteria for selection and use of instructional media. Instructional media should be selected on the basis of how they enhance learning. This selection should be on the basis of their contribution to achieving the set lesson objective according to the learner's level and ability. Selection is based on how well media performs the intended task. Some authorities suggest the following criteria in selection on instructional media be adopted solely 2007. Selects the best available material to the last goal or lesson objective. The material should be make the learning situation more realistic and concrete. The material should be appropriate for the age, intelligence, interest, and experience of the learners. The material should make learning easier and quicker. The material should be present information in an interesting manner. It should supply a concrete basis of conceptual thinking. Material should stimulate critical thinking of students. The researchers should provide for integration of subject matter. The material should be physically or visually attractive in real color and neatness. The material should present up-to-date information on the topic. This material should be worth the time, expense, and effort involved in its use. The lesson should be content-driven and not media-driven. Relate theories to the use of instructional media in teaching. 1. The component display theory. The component display theory, or CDT, developed by Merrill David 1883, argues the instruction or teaching is more effective to the extent that it contains all primary and secondary forms, that a complete lesson consists of objectives followed by some combination of rules, example for practice, feedback, and teaching aids, i.e. instructional materials. This theory classifies learning along two dimensions. One, contents. There are facts, concepts, procedure, and principle. And two is performance. There are remembering, using, and generalities. Presentation form may employ intervening strategies by use of IM to complement the teacher presentation of content through the audio. Expository and visual presentation so as to aid, recall, and enhance learning through practice. This theory indicates that instruction is more effective to the extent that it contains all the necessary primary and secondary forms. Thus, a complete lesson consists of objectives followed by some combination of rules, example, recall, practice, and feedback, all enhanced by use of IM and mnemonic appropriate to the subject matter and learning tasks. 2. The cognitive load theory. The cognitive load theory (CLT) by John Sweller, 2005, states that the ability to learn and the mental capacity of a learner is limited to the learner's age and mental ability, and that learners may receive overwhelming information in terms of too much content and complex concepts, and when the instructional materials are not properly utilized, this will result in overload, where students are provided with more content that they can learn or handle. This impairs the schema of the plain lesson objective for acquisition, resulting in lower performance or less learning on the part of the student. Sweller 1988. Media in teaching and learning. African countries are endowed with a rich heritage which has for a long time been used as means of educating children from generation of generation. This includes use of genres of oral literature, namely songs, games, dance, narrative, and fables, art, and entrepreneurship. Kinyanjui 1997, Wamalua and Oloch 1013. Through these, children were educated on their environment, impaired with skills for work and art. They inculcate values. However, the advent of Western education saw the colonialists set in a new mode of education. Mutue and Namaswa 1992. Literacy introduced by missionaries and associated with modernization was adopted and intention drawn to formal education. This formal education was introduced packed with preferred and plain content along with methods of teaching. Due to modern technology, teaching and learning process has undergone a great revolution. This has made education more readily available, leading to the improvement of its quality due to enhanced interest, comprehension, retention, and concreteness. Teaching language skills with select instructional media. The English language teacher should be exposed to many ways of presenting skills, instruction, and content. Instructional media is an added advantage for facilitate this. It helps the teacher to present concepts in more concrete approach. Project media can be used to present content that is difficult to explain or show verbally. Such media as video can be an excellent way of providing immediate feedbacks. Science in it employs sensory receptors that compound the learning experience. Using IM to teach English in schools. The effectiveness of visual aids has been found to be higher than that of the lecture method. Visual aids enhance the amount of content the pupils remember. They provide an enhanced understanding of concepts present apart from the enjoyment experience when visual aids are utilized. Paran 1964. The role of this material in teaching and learning has neither changed nor increased. Where these vital resources are not used optimally, students may not achieve substantial skills in what they learn. Instructional media are an integral part of English language teaching. Visual aids have been used to enhance learning successfully, and teachers are taught and encouraged to utilize instructional media when teaching. They can therefore exploit current techniques at their disposal. Classroom language learning. Classroom language learning is characterized by a greater range of settings, participants, teacher and learners, topic and purpose. The classroom provides rich and diverse learning experience which should be effectively enhanced by objectively intended instructional media, at least 1192. Use of various forms of instructional media and technology in teaching, whether new or old, can have a profound impact on student learning. When done well, using a variety of media will in life a class encourage student participation and help students grasp difficult concepts. When used poorly, some tools can obscure instructional objectives and make students confused, anxious, and frustrated. Formal language learning provides some kits of studial activity through reading, listening, and speaking among other learning activities on the part of learner. These are the activities learners engage in while learning English language. The last is conclusion. The discussion in this article shows that the instructional media element is very integral to the teaching and learning process. The use of instructional media enhances learning. However, many teachers have for a long time been using traditional methods of teaching that do not incorporate the use of IM. Consequently, many language lessons have not spread the interest and motivation required for optimal acquisition of skills and knowledge. This effect has impacted negatively on student performance. Okay, thank you. See you the next presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.